Hey everyone, let's jump right into this explainer because today we're completely flipping the script on how we understand body weight. We are tossing out all that toxic diet culture and looking straight at the hard biological science from Cambridge geneticist Dr. Giles Yeo. We're going to explore exactly how your DNA pulls the strings on your relationship with food, why the old school calorie counting method is just deeply flawed, and how you can actually start using your biology to your advantage.
We're starting right off the bat with this idea. Obesity is not a choice. I want to instantly dismantle that incredibly pervasive myth that carrying extra weight is somehow a moral failing or a lack of willpower. Because as Dr. Yeo's decades of research shows us, the struggle is literally hardwired into our DNA. Think about it. For almost all of human history, storing energy was a massive evolutionary superpower. But today, we live in a world absolutely flooded with ultra-processed, highly palatable foods. So those exact same survival genes are just working overtime. You aren't weak. You are operating ancient hardware in a very modern world.
To really get a handle on this biological battle, we have to talk about your genetic thermostat. Specifically, we need to look at hormones like leptin. Now, leptin is basically a chemical messenger. It's produced by your fat cells, and it travels up to your brain to say, hey, we've got plenty of energy stored up, you can stop eating now. But what happens if that crucial fat-to-brain communication loop gets disrupted by a genetic variation? Well, the brain ends up thinking the body is starving, even if it's carrying excess energy, and that traps the person in this constant, agonizing state of hunger.
Okay, so we need to completely rethink how we view the food on our plates. Dr. Yeo points out that treating the human body like some simple, inanimate machine is a massive biological mistake. For decades, we've all heard the golden rule. A calorie is a calorie. The idea was, energy in equals energy out, and you're good to go. But our bodies aren't simple spreadsheets. They aren't just simple furnaces. They are these incredibly complex chemical processing plants, and they treat different sources of fuel in vastly different ways. Take the numbers printed on the back of your food packaging, for example. They're actually pretty misleading. They only show gross calories, which is the theoretical maximum energy inside that food. But what they totally ignore is net calories. That's the actual energy your body absorbs after it goes through the absolutely grueling work of digestion. Relying just on gross calories creates a huge discrepancy in how our metabolism actually responds to what we eat every day.
A big part of this comes down to something called the thermic effect of food. Essentially, your body has to work way harder and spend significantly more of its own energy just to break down protein. Fats and simple carbs, on the other hand, they require almost minimal effort to process and store. So, a high-protein meal is effectively giving your body less net energy than a high-fat meal, even if they look like the exact same amount of calories on paper.
And it gets even wilder, because how you prepare your food actually changes the metabolic math too. Think about a raw vegetable salad versus a cooked vegetable stew. They might look identical on a theoretical calorie tracker, but the physical act of cooking breaks down those tough plant fibers and cellular walls. Because of that, your gut extracts and absorbs way more energy from the cooked stew than it ever could from the raw salad. You are literally getting more net calories from the exact same ingredients simply because the heat from the stove did part of the digestion for you.
Which brings us perfectly to one of the most successful, enduring marketing myths of the last century. We are talking about the perceived health and purity of fruit juice. We've all been conditioned to view a big glass of morning orange juice as the ultimate healthy start to the day, right? But when you strip away the whole fruit and isolate just the juice, you're actually creating a very real metabolic trap.
When you eat a whole piece of fruit, the high fiber content forces a much slower digestion. That gives you a nice, gradual, manageable rise in insulin. But the second you strip away that structural fiber, that glass of juice hits your bloodstream instantly. It triggers the exact same rapid, metabolism-damaging insulin spike as chugging a can of soda. Crazy, right?
And it's actually worse than that. Because you aren't physically chewing solid food, your brain totally misses the memo on those liquid calories. Normally, the act of chewing and swallowing solid matter triggers all these hormonal responses that shout to your brain, hey, we're being fed. Liquid sugar bypasses those alarms entirely. That makes it ridiculously easy to consume massive amounts of energy without ever actually feeling full or satisfied. Your brain honestly just doesn't know you drank a whole meal's worth of sugar.
So what's the fix? What is the actionable biological hack to stop this constant low-level hunger and finally regulate our energy? Well, Dr. Yeo's research consistently points to a magic number, 30. He highly recommends aiming for at least 30 grams of dietary fiber every single day. And to put that into perspective,
Most people in modern Western societies are eating less than half of that, which leaves their metabolic systems just completely out of whack. So why 30 grams? Well, fiber physically acts as this viscous barrier in your digestive tract. It slows down the rapid absorption of sugars and stops those aggressive energy crashes in their tracks. Plus, it travels deep down into your gut, where it ferments into short-chain fatty acids. And those compounds? They send powerful, direct signals right to your brain saying that your body has received high-quality nourishment. It literally turns the hunger alarm off. Alongside fiber, protein is absolutely your ultimate satiety tool. As Dr. Yeo emphasizes, a calorie of protein simply makes you feel fuller than a calorie of anything else. By proactively making sure there's protein in every single meal, you naturally and effortlessly crowd out those mid-afternoon cravings for processed snacks. You're managing your weight without triggering those agonizing biological alarm bells telling your body it's starving. But here's the thing. True metabolic resilience isn't just about what you're eating, it's also about what your body is physically made of. As we age, we naturally start losing the most metabolically active tissue in our bodies through a process called sarcopenia. Look, muscle burns energy and consumes oxygen even when you're just sitting on the couch or fast asleep. So when we lose muscle mass, our resting metabolic rate drops. And that makes it incredibly easy for the body to start storing excess energy as fat once we hit our midlife years. To fight back against this and build a genuinely sustainable routine, Dr. Yeo points to 4 core pillars. First up, prioritize protein and fiber to regulate your appetite naturally. Number 2, maintain that metabolic furnace with regular resistance training to fight off sarcopenia. Third, you've got to prioritize restorative sleep because chronic exhausting absolutely wrecks your hunger hormones. And finally, cultivate an 80-20 mindset. Go for consistency rather than chasing some impossible standard of perfection.
And that last point is huge because chasing perfection usually just backfires. Rapid, highly restrictive crash diets trigger a massive biological counterresponse. Your ancient brain literally panics when you lose weight too quickly. It assumes a famine has arrived, so it shuts down your metabolism and severely spikes your hunger. That is exactly why hitting your goals 80% of the time is so much more effective for your long-term health than a temporary streak of absolute perfection that just leaves you burnt out.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, here is the really profound question we want to leave you with today. As you navigate your own metabolic health in our modern, crazy food environment, instead of relying on just pure willpower, feeling guilty all the time, and trusting the totally flawed math of calorie counting, ask yourself, are you fighting your biology? Or are you finally learning how to feed it?